While Joby might be most well known as the mounting option of choice of boosted board vloggers like Casey Neistat, recently it has been expanding its lineup of offerings for content creators. We went hands-on with the mobile vlogging kit that included a light and microphone a little while ago, but now Joby is out with a huge line of audio gear for almost every creator. We got our hands on pretty much every single piece here, so let's dive in and check them out. Thanks for watching 9 to 5 Toys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications with the bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. A couple of notes, we are recording on the Wavo Pod, which is their podcasting streamer microphone here. So I've got that running into Audition on my PC, and I won't put any filters on it, any sort of effects or anything. So this sound you're going to be hearing is exactly what it sounds like directly out of the microphone. And a quick look at the rest of the lineup, starting at the most affordable, we have the $80 Joby Slim Lav, or I think it's the Lav Pro. Wavo Lav Pro, maybe that's it. But it's a very slim, discreet lav microphone. So we'll dive in and take a closer look at that a little bit later, but pretty cool little addition. We have the Wavo Air, which is their wireless system. So this is going to be a lot like the Rode Wireless Go 2, and then also the DJI mic that we just recently reviewed as well. And that comes in at $250 for this kit. A lot of cool accessories in there, which we'll dive in and take a look at. And then we have the Wavo Pro, which comes in at $300, and this is Joby's on-camera microphone that has some really unique features. It has Bluetooth, so it has an app so you can adjust some different settings. It also has an active noise reduction built in there, which is going to help to take out vibrations and kind of low frequency noises like wind, then also, like impacts and things like that. So some pretty cool stuff, and let's check them out. So the first one we're going to talk about is the $300 Wavo Pro. Now, as I mentioned, this is an on-camera microphone, so it does have a shoe mount here on the bottom, a cold shoe, so really easy to mount onto a camera or some other mounting accessory. It also has a thread in the bottom if you do need to mount it on something else. One cool thing about this is that it has a built-in internal battery. So often these, like some of the Rode microphones, like you'll have a different battery you have to put in there, usually like a 9 volts, which will last for a long time, but then you do have to replace it eventually. With the Wavo Pro, though, the internal battery will last for, I believe, up to 60 hours in normal mode, and then with the active noise reduction turned on, up to 50 hours. So both of those are pretty impressive numbers. So the competition here with this thing would be something like the VideoMic Pro from Rode, and then also the MKE 400 from Sennheiser, which we recently reviewed, and I'll put a link up here if you want to check out that review. But neither of those have the same functionality that we're seeing here on the Wavo Pro. So let's take a look at the design and some of the different buttons and functionality on here. Up top on the back here, we have the safe channel or mono mix selector. Underneath that, we have a primary microphone metering level, which is an LED. Then we also have a power and battery level indicator. And that is also the power button, which you can press and hold to turn on, or in the app, you can turn on an auto on, auto power mode that will automatically turn on when power is detected from your camera. Beneath that, we have a Bluetooth button that when you press that, it will enable pairing to connect to a mobile device. And then down near the bottom, we have a secondary mic metering LED here. So then looking at the right side of the microphone, you can plug in an external microphone if you want to do an interview with a second subject and plug their microphone in there. And then you also have a gain selector for that secondary microphone if you need it to be quieter or louder. And then we have a USB-C port for charging the microphone. And then on the left side of the microphone, we have an audio output to go to a camera. And then we also have the output gain selector, so you can adjust the volume of the output there. So a couple cool features here. The active noise reduction works really well to kind of knock out some kind of low frequency rumbles and noises. So this can be both from like impacts if you're hitting your desk or hitting something that's attached to the camera and it makes a low frequency rumble. Also with wind noise, it's going to help kind of cut out some of that low rumble from wind noise. And then another cool feature here is if you are recording just a single subject, you aren't using that secondary microphone input, you can record a safety track, which is going to be, I believe, 10 decibels quieter. And so if your main track gets, blown out by some really loud popping or someone screams suddenly, then that safety track is going to be at a lower volume and that will still be usable and you can still, save your audio with that. All right, so we're changing up the scene a little bit here because I wanted to use the Wavo Pro and then also make some adjustments in the app here. So we'll kind of play around with the EQ and show what you can do. And I'm just going to start a screen recording on here and then overlay that so you can see what kind of changes we're making. I'm sitting probably about 3 feet, maybe a little bit less away from the microphone. So I think this would be a pretty typical kind of vlogging kind of setup. You might be a little bit closer to normal setup, but I think that this would be pretty typical. So here we are within the app. First thing you can do is you can kind of dial in the levels. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit here. It should be getting a little bit quieter. And then I'll bring it back up. So quick and handy, really easy way to kind of dial in the audio there. And then you can also turn that ANR, that active noise reduction, on or off. And so here to test the active noise reduction, I'm going to kind of hit the tripod a little bit. And I can see, it looks like some of those booms are coming through. So now I'm going to turn on that active noise reduction, give it a couple more hits here. And I can see on the levels it looks a lot quieter. It doesn't look like that's transferring through nearly as much. So I'll turn that back off. Do another example of that. I can see kind of the booms coming through on there. And then we'll head into the edit, and this is where you can adjust the EQ of the microphone, which is pretty cool. So depending on how in-depth you want to get into it, there is a basic mode, which just has warmth, clarity, and presence, which you can dial up or down. And here we'll just play around with that. I'll dial up the warmth a little bit, and we'll see how that sounds. We're going to bring it down a little bit. Test, checking the Joby Wavo Pro, and I'll put that right back in the middle. We can also do the same with clarity. I'm dialing it up. Check, 1, 2, 1, 2, testing the Joby Wavo Pro, and then I'll put it down a little bit, testing the Joby Wavo Pro. And then lastly, we have the presence slider, and I'll test that out, testing the Joby Wavo Pro, and I'll put it down, testing the Joby Wavo Pro, and I'll put it down in the middle again. Then down at the bottom, we also have the low cut filter, which is going to help to cut out, really low frequency stuff and booms. And then we also have the equalizer you can turn on or off if you just want to toggle that. And then, of course, you can reset it if you want to go back to the basics. But if you want a little more control over here, obviously this doesn't have any sort of indication on, what kind of frequencies this is going to be affecting. You can flip over to the advanced mode. And in here, there is quite a bit more you can do. So there are different settings down here, like you would find like a parametric equalizer on like Premiere Pro or something like that. We're going to adjust the frequency, what's going to be affected. You can adjust the gain, whether or not it's going, up or down, if you're boosting or cutting. And you can also adjust the Q, which is kind of the width of that. So how many frequencies, in close proximity, what kind of a bell-shaped curve going to be affecting there. So there's quite a bit you can do to dial in, exactly what you would want for your voice, which is great. If you want that added functionality, it's really easy to dial in there and dive in and just make a bunch of changes. And you can also create EQ presets, if you want to make your own preset for, if you know how your voice sounds, but your partner's voice, sounds a little bit different and you want a special EQ for that, it's really easy to dial that in. And then another thing here is that you can toggle on or off the safe mode. And so that safe mode is what's going to record a secondary track, or it kind of splits the left and right. And one's going to be full volume, and the other one's going to be a negative 10 decibel volume. So if something were to clip the audio in your main track, you would still have that secondary track that you can kind of save that audio with. So a lot of cool functionality built into this app and this microphone. All right, well, that added functionality definitely makes the Joby Wavo Pro pretty powerful for what it can do for creators, and especially creators out on the go. All right, so next up, let's talk about the $250 Joby Wavo Air. So this is a kit, much like the Rode Wireless Go 2 and the DJI mic, that comes with a receiver, which is going to be connected to your camera or your phone, or whatever you're recording to, and then 2 transmitters that can be connected to 2 different subjects, and a few different mounting options on here for how you want to use those. So first off, let's check out one of the transmitters. You can see here it's pretty large. There is one button on the front which controls powering it on, and then there is also a little LED light indicator on there that will tell you when it's connected and when everything is set up there. So we'll turn that back off. Up top, you can see there is a microphone, so you can attach this to somebody and just use the built-in microphone here. And there's a little mounting place where you can attach a little windscreen to help if you are outside, to help with wind noise. And then on the back, there is a little multifunction mounting surface here. So this is where you can attach some different clips and some different mounting options. So the ones that Joby has included in here, there is a GorillaPod leg clip. So if you click that in there, you can really easily attach this to your GorillaPod. There are also 2 just kind of standard like belt loop or, shirt clips where you can attach it to like your lapel or to a strap of a camera bag or something like that, or to your belt. And then lastly, there is a magnetic clip. So this magnetic one, it will clip in just like the others into the back here, and just kind of adds a magnet in the back. And then that connects with this little magnetic necklace. And so you can, really easily wear this around if you don't have a good mounting point, but you still just want to use the microphone. You can really easily do that. And let's try it underneath my shirt. Typically you can use these underneath a shirt as well. Yeah, so it works underneath the shirt, so you can kind of hide the necklace there, the wire, even though, the microphone itself is still really large and has that bright red, so it's still going to stand out. So it doesn't really make a difference if you have the necklace rope on there or not, in my opinion. And looking at the rest of the transmitter, over on one side, we have a microphone input. So this is a 3.5 millimeter input where you can plug in one of the included lav mics. So this kit does come with 2 lav mics already in it, which is something that's pretty unique and special. With both the Rode kit and the DJI kit, you would have to supply those, and purchase and supply those separately. But with the Joby kit, those come in the box ready to go, which makes them a lot more useful. So if you don't want this, bright red transmitter kind of hanging out right in front of your subject, you just put this on a belt and you use the included lav mic to attach to that, and then it's a lot more discreet. And over on the other side of the transmitter, there's a plus and a minus button, which these will both control the volume or the gain coming out of the transmitter. So if you need a little more juice, you can pump it up. If you need a little bit less, you can turn it down. So the kit comes with those 2 microphones, comes with that variety of attachment options, and then it comes with 2 cables. One is they're both 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter. One is a tip ring sleeve, which would go into the receiver, if you're going out to a camera or something. And then the other side has a tip ring sleeve, which would work with smartphones. And so one thing to note here is that if you are recording on an iOS device, you obviously will need to provide a different adapter or use the iPhone dongle that goes from 3.5 millimeter to that Lightning to connect it to your phone. Just straight out of the box with just a straight phone, it won't connect. So make sure you have that dongle at the ready. And then the other included cable is a 3.5 millimeter tip ring sleeve to tip ring sleeve. And this is what you're going to want to use on your DSLR camera or any other standard kind of audio input. And I really love how all these different companies are coming out with these really easy to use, easy to set up wireless microphone kits that are going to get better audio for creators. These are really easy to, when you use this clip and you just clip it on, if you're not worried about it showing up, you just clip it on and you're already on your subject, you're good to go. And then you put the receiver on your camera or your smartphone and you're good to go, and you're getting much better audio than what you would from any sort of, built-in audio. So I love that we're seeing options like this from Joby and from Rode and from DJI. Compared to those other kits, I love that the Joby has the lav mics included in it. That's actually a pretty, huge deal and makes this a lot more usable when you're out in a different situation. If you really want to get some more discrete audio without the big red transmitter on there, then this is nice to have. Compared to the DJI mic, though, it doesn't have the same functionality. It doesn't have the same universal compatibility as a DJI mic. That has the 3.5 millimeter plug as well as the Lightning adapter and a USB-C adapter. And it has that really handy charging, carrying case as well, that when you put them back in there, it'll recharge up all the devices. That is significantly more expensive, though, at $320 or $330, over the $250 that it is for this Joby kit. So a lot of great functionality built into the Joby. The DJI takes the cake, I think, as far as, usability and compatibility, but is quite a bit more expensive as well. And another note here is that battery life on the Wavo Air is rated to about 6 hours for this wireless kit. All right, so now I'm going to connect the receiver up to my camera, and we'll try out a couple different recording modes with the transmitter so we can demonstrate how this sounds in use. All right, so I have the transmitter clipped on here onto my shirt, and then I have the receiver plugged into my A7S III over there. And so hopefully this will give you a good idea of what it sounds like, through the microphone, just kind of as it sits like this. Now, a couple of the things we can do to test this, I am going to put on the little dead cat, little windscreen. We can see how that sounds. And then we'll also test it with the included lav mic. All right, so here it is with the windscreen popped on there, and it almost looks like, a character from Monsters, Inc. or something like that, with that dot in the middle and then the kind of the fuzzy hair on top of it. But this will help if you're outside. It will just, help to kind of mitigate noise so you aren't picking up as much of that. All right, and then lastly, we will plug in one of these lav mics and see how that sounds. All right, so now we have the lav mic clipped on here, and, it's a lot more discreet than what the having the transmitter clipped on there is. But you're still using the same hardware. You can just put this on your belt or in a pocket, and it's really easy to kind of keep out of the way and just be a little bit more discreet when you are recording audio. And the kit does come with 2 lav mics, so for 2 people, is included in there for that, which is pretty awesome. All right, and next let's talk about the Wavo Pod, which is their $100 kind of podcasting streaming microphone. The Wavo Pod features plenty of onboard controls with 2 selectable polar patterns. For the solo creator, the cardioid pattern will focus the microphone in one direction to pick up a subject, while the omnidirectional mode can more easily capture multiple people talking or an entire room. And taking a look at the overall design here, I mean, it's relatively big. Usually with these microphones, the included stand is nice, but it would be nicer to get it maybe a little bit higher, a little bit closer to your mouth. And so using something like a boom arm, like what I have over here, I think I have my solo cast on it right now. It's like a cheap, I don't remember, it's like $15, maybe $20 boom arm that I got on Amazon that adds a lot more functionality to a microphone to get it in the right place. But as far as, the features and design on this itself, there is this removable red pop filter. You can take that off. And you can also purchase an additional pop filter that will clip onto the other side. So if you are, talking with another person on either side of the microphone, that'll help make it so that you have a pop filter on both sides. The multifunction dial, if it's pressed in once, will mute the microphone and the little LED ring around it will turn red. When the ring is blue and you rotate the dial up or down, that will control the audio volume output coming out the 3.5mm port on the bottom. And then if you hold the button in for a few seconds, that LED ring will turn purple, and this will adjust the volume or the gain of the microphone. So going into recording software, if it's too hot, you can turn it down that way or turn it up. And then down below that multifunction dial is a dedicated button to swap between cardioid and omnidirectional polar patterns. And on the bottom of the microphone, there is a USB-C port for plugging into a device. And it does come with both a USB-C to USB-C cable, as well as a USB-C to USB-A cable. So it'll work with, older devices with a USB-A port and newer devices with a USB-C port. Additionally, there's a 3.5mm headphone out. And then there is a mounting point with an included adapter for larger mounting options like what you would find on a boom arm. And like I mentioned, unless otherwise stated, I've been recording all the audio for this video through the Wavo Pod. So hopefully this has given you a good idea of what that sounds like. And this is just straight, no effects. I'll make sure that the volume isn't too high or too low, but that's about it. All right, and then lastly, we have the $80 Lav Pro, the Wavo Lav Pro. And this thing is just a very small, very slim, very discreet lav mic. So compared to that which is included with the Wavo Air, even the cable is much more slim. And if you look at the actual microphones themselves, we'll take the windscreen off of the Wavo Air mic. And the Lav Pro, even with its windscreen installed, is about the same size as the Air microphone. So if we take that windscreen off, you can see it's just super small, super discreet. So if you are concerned with, just being as discreet as possible, if you clip this onto a subject, it is a very small microphone. It's not going to draw a lot of attention to it. So pretty cool option here. It is $80. There are definitely more affordable lav mics you can find on Amazon, but the small size of this thing makes this a pretty cool microphone. And so here we'll plug it in through the transmitter and receiver and plug it into the camera, and so you can get an idea of what this lav mic sounds like. All right, and so here I have the Lav Pro plugged into the transmitter from the Joby Wavo Air. I have it plugged into the A7S III, and so hopefully this will give you a good idea of what this lav mic sounds like. Test, test, check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. And again, it is just so small and discreet on here, especially with that windscreen taken off. So if you are in an indoor environment, this is just a very discreet microphone. All right, so while I was editing this video and watching it back, I had a couple thoughts, and the first one was definitely that I think that the Wavo Pro will be better served closer to your subject, closer to your mouth. And so I have it mounted on that cheap Amazon boom arm. I'll put a link to it if you want to check out my review of it or check it out on Amazon. I think it's like $15. And this just helps you to get it in like a much better position, gives you a lot more flexibility for mounting and positioning. And with it closer to my mouth, I feel like it's, a little bit more full, has a little bit better sound to it. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was the Wavo Air. And I noticed throughout some of the playback, there were a couple times where it kind of lost audio for a little bit. I could tell that like I was still talking, but the audio cut out, which is definitely something that concerns me with the Wavo Air. Obviously, you don't want to lose any audio. And that was something, I never experienced with like the DJI mic kit. So that was a little bit of a bummer to see that happening from the Wavo Air. So those are just my couple additional thoughts I wanted to throw in there. All right, so overall, just wrapping up here, this new audio equipment, this kit from Joby, just makes them kind of a little bit more of a one-stop shop for creators. If you really like the GorillaPod and the style and functionality of that, then adding some of these audio accessories to that, makes that a lot more powerful. And most professionals will tell you that audio is more important than video quality. So making sure you have the right equipment, makes that a lot easier. And Joby has a ton of great offerings here. Everything from the incredible versatility built into the Wavo Pro with that ANR, the active noise noise reduction and app control and EQ tweaks. That's something I haven't seen in a microphone like this. And the Wavo Pod, for $100 is a very functional microphone with some nice features built into it. And then of course you have the really slim lav mic as well. So a lot of great options here. What do you think about them? Let us know down in the comments below. Are there any one of these that you're thinking about picking up, and what are you going to use them for? And if you're looking for some other videos to watch, check out our review of the Sennheiser MKE 400, which I'll put over here, and the DJI mic kit. So 2 competitors to these products. We'll put those reviews over here on the side, and you can check them out if you want. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. This is Jordan with 9to5 Toys.